Thank you, Greg and Connie. Our next speaker is no stranger to our group. In fact, usually when his wife and he get here early, we put them to work. Apparently, I think we worked them too hard because Elaine didn't come tonight. So, Randy Rossi is a former group president of 2 international manufacturing companies that outperform the Fortune 500 companies. He also is an author with a published conservative book titled The Last Man to Live the Real American Dream. In addition to being an author of books, he has authored dozens of letters to the editor. You can find them in the Chicago Tribune, in the Daily Herald. Currently, Randy is a consultant on the board of directors for profit and non-profit organizations. He's a committeeman for the Republican Party, and I'd like to ask you to join me in welcoming Randy to the group.
Thank you very much. Rachel nailed it in her presentation when she said that if everybody in the Tea Party could change one person's mind, this election is no longer in doubt. We'd win hands down. So what I'd like to talk about is a way that everybody in this room can change at least one person's mind and actually have some fun doing it, and that's letters to the editor. Once you get into it, once you get going on it, it really gets to be fun. In fact, it's almost addictive. It's so much fun. So let's talk a little bit about letters to the editor and why they're so important. First of all, letters to the editor get you access to a very large audience. You get in the Tribune, and you're talking to hundreds of thousands of people. Get in the Daily Herald, you're talking to tens of thousands of people. So if you get into one of those 2 papers, you're talking to people. They do have an impact. I've had people stop me in the street, and at first it used to kind of bother me a little bit. Are you that Randy Rossi? And I know that I've had an impact on some people's opinions. That means you can too. They do initiate debate. If you watch, there's also an electronic version, and you can see people debating the position you put out in the letter to the editor. So you've stimulated debate. They provide, and one of the reasons I do it is the lamestream media, I'm sorry, I want to say it the way it is, the lamestream media does not present people with the true facts. So one of the reasons I do it is I think there's facts that people won't get watching TV or reading normal papers. So I take it as one of my jobs to try and provide them information that they can't get any other way. And I will say that it gives you personal satisfaction because you feel like you're doing something. Instead of being frustrated, you feel like you're doing something good for your country. So let me start out with saying when you write letters to the editor, you should really stop and say, what are my goals? What do I want to get done with my letter? You know, too often people get upset and the letters are emotional, and frankly, I don't think they have impact. So for me, my goals are, number one, to provide the public with critical facts that I think will help them understand what's really going on. So that's one of my goals. And my other personal goal is, because I think the battleground is moderates, I think even moderates, if you give them the facts, will turn into conservatives. So one of the things I try very hard is to target my letters to draw the moderates to our side. But those are my goals. Everybody has their own. Another one of my goals is to build back support for traditional American values. I think like all of us, I'm really getting worried about, do people even know what traditional American values are? So if enough of us speak up, I think we can get those traditional American values replanted in our society. And again, we certainly don't need to alert conservatives that our country's on a dangerous course. That's why we're here. But one of the things I'm trying to do is help moderates understand our nation is on a dangerous course. So, you know, again, the battleground in my view is moderates and how do we change their mind. And I know this is a little bit, you know, probably unprofessional, but I want to throw the current bums out of office real bad. I think one of the most important things on letters to the editor is to make them constructive, not destructive. You've seen letters where someone gets on an emotional rant, and quite frankly, I think that sometimes turns off the audience. So at least what I believe is important is present credible facts. Data counts, and most people are reasonable. When they get data, it's surprising how many say, gosh, I didn't know that. If they just knew, it would change their mind. As I said, don't rant, because if you rant emotionally, it just turns off your target, particularly if you're trying to convince moderates to our side. It's okay to be passionate, but be logical and rational when you're passionate. And I know this one's kind of hard, but I found it works. And it is, every once in a while, give credit to the other side if they do something right, because it builds your credibility when you show them what they did was wrong. So I find that it does help, and you start building a sense of credibility. What you have to do to get them printed. My ratio is I write about 2 a day. And you know, if you add it up, I think I've had in the last 24 months 100 published. So, you know, it's like 1 out of 5. Don't expect your, every letter to get printed. In fact, there's a rule in the Daily Herald, they can only do 1 of your letters a month. Now, they did 4 of mine last month, so they broke the rule, which was kind of fun. Each publication has word limits. Like the Herald has 300 words, so you follow that, because if you do more than 300 words, it won't print your letter. So find the rules. You have to provide your name and your town and your phone number. Now that makes a lot of people nervous, and I'll talk a little bit about it, because your name is in the paper and so is your town. But after a while, that gets to be fun too. In more ways than I can talk about. But, and make your letters interesting and succinct. You only got 300 words, so really think about what you want to write. Make it succinct. Nail it in that letter. I think developing a very eye-catching title helps too. If you've got a 2 or 3 or 4 word title that gets your point across, that draws the reader in. So think about it. It's part of the process. I find using humor works. I mean, at least also I have fun doing it. Make a little bit of fun of the enemy, and but with respect. People kind of get a kick out of that. One of the most important things is write your letter and then walk away. Because I know sometimes I get passionate, and I come back and I'll take 10 minutes, I'll walk back and go, oh, geez, I don't want to say that. So do that. Force yourself. Write it. Don't push the send button. Write it, walk away, come back, make sure you meant what you said and you're willing to stand by what you said. And then, for goodness sake, use spell check. There's nothing more embarrassing to see your letter with it, if you misspelled a word. Again, because I think one of the things I really want to focus on is presenting people with facts that I don't think they're getting from the mainstream media. One of the things I really work hard on is trying to provide those facts that I think are important. So where do I get my facts? Everybody can use your own sources. I find the Wall Street Journal to be extremely good, both inside the paper, both domestically and internationally, and I also find their opinion section is really good. So I suggest the Wall Street Journal. It's a little pricey, but for me it's worth it. It's really good information. Another one, and this is free, is Rasmussen polls. How many of you guys have heard of Rasmussen? Okay, good. It's free. All you got to do is go on the Rasmussen website, put your name in. Every day you'll get an email with about 10 or 12 really interesting polls. And one of the good things that you should know is the Rasmussen data is showing that the people are coming our way. They are getting upset. So, the momentum is on our side. A very good source of information is the Heritage Report. It costs you $25 a year. It's a conservative, excellent. Their data is always right. So use the Heritage Report. And if you get into international defense issues, I happen to be, I worry a lot about what the hell's happening in the world. Stratfor, which is free, is an excellent source to get information on what's going on in regards to international issues, in regards to the defense of our country, etc. So those are sources. Pros and cons of writing letters to the editor. The first pro, as I said, is you get some satisfaction. You're doing something. You're not just sitting there, being frustrated. You're doing something. You do get positive reinforcement from your peers. It's kind of fun to have someone walk up and say, hey, I read your letter. Really good job. I agree with it. It's fun. It does have an impact on public debate, and you feel good about that. I have been stopped on the street the first couple of times when someone said, are you the Randy Rossi? And I immediately go into a defensive position. Yeah. But so far it's gone well. And as I said before, you're fulfilling your civic duty, and that's important too. There are some cons, and you should know them. You will get some really, really nasty responses to your letter. Sometimes in other letters to the editor. Sometimes each of the two papers has on the internet you can respond, and there's some terrible stuff. You'll be called every name in the book. My recommendation is don't read them. It'll just make you crazy. Just don't read them. As I said, occasionally you'll actually see a letter in the paper where someone is responding to your letter by name saying, you know, Randy Rossi is a real flaming jerk, and da-da-da-da-da. That takes a little getting used to. But, you know, other than hearing it from my wife, which of course is, that's okay. And you'll even get, and I have, get a nasty call at home if you're in the phone book. But, you know, again, it's not very often, and you got to take a chance. You know, I mean, if you're going to stand for something, you got to take a chance. So on balance, with the pros and cons, why do it? Well, as we all know, freedom is not free. You know, you got to work for it, and it has always involved risk. So that's true. It is a proud American tradition. If you go back to the founding fathers and read the letters to the editor that those guys wrote against each other, holy mackerel, it was some pretty tough stuff. So this has been going on for a long, long time. It's a good American tradition. I know everybody in this room, and that's why you're here, wants to make sure that our kids and their kids have the same kind of country that we grew up in. And that's another reason to do it. It makes a difference. And as I said, it's fun. After a while, it gets to be a kick. So come on in. The more of you that jump in, the better. Thank you.